Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Childra. This is from their 2023 EP Deadlock, and it was their first ever English-only song. We're going to be looking at Xdinary Heroes today, specifically a track called Good Enough. This comes from a B-side performance. I don't know I guess that's a place where you can play music, I suppose, or I don't know if it is a description of a lesser played song of theirs too. But we do have something from B-side live here. So let's dive in. Let's see what's going on with Xdinary Heroes today. Alright, I already liked the layered guitars, but this quasi R&B, this is really nice. A very smooth 3. Quite theatric too. I like the staccato strings there underneath the longer drawn out ones. Oh, I guess it's staccato bells. No, staccato strings under the longer bells. I want to hear that part again. Violin. Cello now? That's a little bit of darkness at the end of this verse is cool too. This reminds me of like the 90s ballads that rock had. I guess it would be like very interesting choice. Yeah. I'd be a little underwhelmed if that's it. Dang, dude, are you kidding me?
Who's this? Girls!
Hello, we are
Xdinary Heroes!
Thank you so much for
I really enjoyed a lot of this. There's so many familiar elements, to me at least, coming from like 90s pop rock, big bombastic ballads, the theatricality of emo music, even thrown in there a little bit. I can hear a tiny dash even of maybe some influence from more, I guess, like theatric rock operas, maybe in there. A little bit of Queen, maybe by proxy of My Chemical Romance. Um, it's just there's so much cool stuff in here. The key change at the end of the verse, the Baroque pop element of having strings everywhere, the vocal harmonies, the massive explosion into that final chorus. It is theatric, it is emotional, it is extremely polished. It is a mix of rock and pop and classical, and it is just very cool. Every bit of this I enjoyed until the ending, which is a bit of a shame. I really felt that that big burst into that final moment was excellent. And after we got through the chorus, I was kind of expecting another repetition of this chorus, maybe with a variation, maybe a second vocal line going on top of it, maybe bringing back a verse vocal or something. Maybe extra harmonies, just staying within this moment for longer, which I feel like most of the influences I can say that, or most of the artists I would say that influenced them in this track would have done to keep that energy up. Maybe even take it one more step. They weren't at a 10 yet. They were at like a 9.5. I really would have liked the little burst there just to run it through to the final moment. And instead of getting that final like peak, they dip it down and do the outro, which I think the outro is probably the way to go on this. We could have ended on a really big note, but I think bringing it back down to just the piano, it works. It brings this song from this big bombastic moment back down to the vulnerable and brings that emotionality back into it. Yeah, very iterative way to do it. Lots of artists have done that. It works. I just would have liked another 8 bars. That's it. Just give me more on that final chorus. And I think it's a shame we didn't. But everything else about this track, I mean, I have nothing but praise for. The verse is so meticulously done. There's so many layers. This is the most Baroque pop part of the track. The vocal lines are gorgeous. And I love the little dip into the melancholy at the end of the verse. I think that works so well. And it's all the layers in here too. It's the violins, it's the cellos, it's the piano, it's the acoustic guitar line, it's the bass line, it's the light drumming and the variants within that. It's the vocal parts, it's the harmonies. Like all of this comes together in a very traditional Baroque pop sense where it is layered. It's also sort of classically leaning while not being a purely classical track. Definitely more of this modern classical vibe. And all of it complements the gorgeous melodies at the forefront of all of this. And it's all done through this densely layered ornamental ideas. A lot of it ends up being atmospheric. We don't really have counterpoint throughout here, but it's so many layers and textures and timbres that add to this atmosphere that really make it palpable. It's very easy to get lost in the emotion of it because it is over dramatic. It is overblown. It takes this feeling and says, well, what if everyone did this at an 11? And it kind of makes it difficult not to emotionally at least engage with it. Maybe not connect with it, but you can't listen to this and not feel the emotion they're aiming for. They're not disguising it at all. In fact, they're doing the opposite. They're making it as immediately noticeable as possible on as many levels as possible. And this is translated also into the chorus as well, which is a larger, more bombastic, like a pop rock ballad. It has this dreary overtone to it, but we have these massive belted out vocals, as if the vocalists just couldn't keep this contained anymore, and they just have to project with everything they have into this big moment. The drums are big, a simple part, sure, but the way they're produced is huge. We have the guitar coming in here. I can't think of any song in particular, which is kind of wild given how large this style was in the 90s. And it's kind of, again, it's wild. I can't think of any specific song to parallel it to, but I feel like I've heard hundreds of tracks like this. Definitely inspired by some stuff that came before them. But it's not traditional pop rock. It does lean a bit more into the poppier side that happens to have a guitar and drum kind of idea. But it's the energy of it. Again, it's run everything at an 11, not for intensity, but for emotion. And this is just a part of, it's empowering, but it's also heavy. There's a weight to it, almost as if this person is locked down somewhere. They want to break free of somewhere and they can't. And so they're singing as loudly as they can in an attempt to showcase the resistance of types, or just it's an I want song, possible, and maybe that's what it is too. I wonder if the reason I can't think of a track similar to this is because I'm looking in a pop realm when maybe I should be looking into a musical theater realm. I don't know. There's a melody in my head. I'm like, I can hear a song. I just can't think of what it is, man. But it is, again, everything working together here. And it's the perfect movement too. When we look at energy, of course, this track has highs and lows. The chorus is a high, the verse is a low. But even when we look at emotion, there's heaviness and isolation, there's heaviness and resistance, there's heaviness and sorrow. A lot of this is just heavy. I think this is just the general atmosphere being very dreary throughout most of this, and the vocals and music trying to push out of that atmosphere, just a general gloominess overall. And I think the ending does a pretty good job of doing that. We'll get to that in a second though. But there's also that immense amount of tension coming in at the end of the verse too, where I almost feel like this is a chance for the narrator to slip into whatever's compressing them down, whatever's weighing them down, to just say, well, okay, maybe it's not worth it, and then just not fighting back, not trying to have a better life kind of idea. And it's this doubt that seeps into the track. It is a key change, or I guess probably a modal change right here that you can't really miss. It is incredibly highlighted in the music, and the vocals lean into it, the strings lean into it, the guitar leans into it. It is a full shift into this feeling, and it's such a wide change as well. It's not subtle in any way. None of this track is subtle in any way. But it just adds one little bit more of detail, of color to the song. And I think it's something that adds to the theatricality, is that it isn't just a high and a low. It is a bit more multifaceted, even if each facet is explored in isolation. We don't really have too much in here where we're mixing feelings and trying to find something more complex. It is a bit on the simpler side, but I think that's what also makes it highly effective too. On a first time listen, I think you kind of get the gist of the song. I didn't pick up the words, and there's so much of this song that already speaks to me. But then there is the ending. This feels the most empowered. First of all, is because we've come off of a quite a smaller section, but also because the vocals are more pronounced, they're more powerful. We have the secondary vocals from the bridge doing their vocalizations in the background of this. It's more layers, it's louder, it's larger than it's ever been. But the chords underneath are still heavy. We're still trying to break free from them, whether that is a wall we're trying to get past or chains that keep us grounded when we want to take off. We can feel so much force being exerted here to push back against that what grounds us. And ultimately, in the end, we wrap it up with the piano line. Isolation, dreariness. We don't get a big bombastic finale. We don't get the point when we key change into major and everything is happy and triumphant. We've succeeded. We end up exactly where we started this track. It is called Good Enough, and I'm trying to understand how the finale is supposed to work into that, because I'm going to wager this is supposed to be a feel-good track. The fact that it doesn't shift into bombast to wrap it up implies that it keeps going. If the song is about not feeling that you're good enough, maybe parts of this track is trying to make you feel better, trying to break through break the chains that hold you down, that make you feel like you're not good enough. But it's an understanding that it's a battle. You gotta keep doing it. It's easy to slip back into this feeling of having less worth. At least that's my interpretation of the music. This is the second or third Xdinary Heroes track that I've checked out that I've just really enjoyed. I think they're a fantastic, I'm going to say it, proggy pop rock bands. I don't know if I'd quite put them into the realms where most prog rock is, but they're certainly a cut above your typical prog rock bands, and they have quite a wide amount of influences and styles that they incorporate into their music, despite, at the end of the day, as far as what I've heard, still work within the verse, chorus, structure and create palatable music. But the fact that this is Baroque pop and that we've heard stuff that this very rock opera, very Queen style in this track in places, but we've also heard some more progressive ideas harmonically in previous tracks too. So they do explore music outside of traditional pop rock, and I think that's what makes them a bit more progressive to me, without ever venturing into interesting structure or chord progression or time signatures or anything like that, where I would very easily say, okay, they're on the prog line of things. But they are more progressive than most pop rock bands, and I probably should dive into them one of these days. I don't know if they're going to become a band that I absolutely fall head over heels for and just have to listen to everything, but I also am quite confident that there isn't going to be an album of theirs that I listen to and feel like I've wasted my time. All right. Oh, one quick thing. I'm just going to toss it here outside of a timestamp because I don't want to focus too much on it. I thought it was very odd for a group full of vocalists. I'm pretty sure I've seen 3 or 4 of them do vocals in the past to use artificial chorusing on a vocal line. The person who sings in the bridge, the vocalizations, the ahs or the oohs or whatever they were, I noticed that the harmonization on it was perfectly in tune, perfectly in line. And I started to hone in more. I was like, oh wait, this is the same exact thing. Where they stop, little vocal inflections, coloring, and timbre, this is identical. It's just being pitch shifted. And that's when I realized there is a very strong chance this is just a chorus, a chorus module or a chorus effect being put on the vocals. In and of itself, that usually doesn't bother me. It does sound a little more artificial than natural harmony, but I'm not usually one who cares too much about vocals being overproduced or anything like that. I enjoy pop music, but it is kind of strange for me that a group of 6 people, where over half of them can sing, chose to not let more than half of them sing when we needed some harmonies. So I found that to be really interesting. I don't know if there was a statement to be made through that, or maybe it was an economy thing. Maybe just performing it live, it was easier to do that. I don't know, but it was something I noticed and just felt a little odd. I mean, it'd be like if you go watch a boy band like Backstreet Boys or something, and they use a backing track when they have 5 dedicated singers or something. Like, it's just an odd choice when you have enough musicians who can cover this part. Yeah, so that's that. Let's hit some lyrics on this. The ending makes a lot of sense within the context of the lyrics. There is a feeling of wanting something and not having it. This feeling of overwhelming joy or expression within the chorus versus the more isolated feeling in the verse. The general melancholy that exists throughout this track, the dreary atmosphere and chord progression paired against the positive and not energetic, but powerful vocals, especially in the chorus. This is a track of unrequited love, of wanting to be with someone and not being able to. The end of the track, shifting back to the piano, indicates the isolation and loneliness of our narrator. Okay, so there's also an element of this track I'm just not a real big fan of. I don't know if I would necessarily call it self-deprecation, but it's generally a feeling that I am worth less, not worthless, but worth less than someone else. The post-chorus says, as long as I'm with you, I want nothing more because it's good enough. That's not too bad on its own. It is definitely something that to me feels a bit more youthful in vision. I think as the older you get, while love and a love life and relationships are still important, it's just not the whole world thing like it seems to be when you're younger. Having a relationship just seems to be incredibly important, super high priority when you're like a teenager or young 20s or even mid 20s. So I'm like, okay, it's not great. It says I want nothing more than to be with you, and that's good enough for me. Okay, definitely a bit over the top, but the music's over the top. They might have been younger when they wrote it. I get it. This is a love song that really puts love as a high priority. Not my shtick, but I get it. But then the chorus says, just let me wave to you. Not wave goodbye, just let me stay by your side because that's good enough for me. And the way that I view this is basically, please just recognize me. And if you do, that's good enough for me. And that is incredibly unhealthy. Unrequited love is a huge genre of romance or anti-romance, maybe, that music and film and novels have explored many times over. I don't think that we shouldn't have songs of unrequited love. It's just, I'm not the target audience of it at all. I've been through this in my own experiences. It is kind of embarrassing to look back on. And I mean, this is very personal too. So maybe some people really love these kinds of songs, but I just never want to return to this feeling. It's not great. And to me, at least, it's just very low self-esteem. But that's what I get out of this track. And I am putting myself into that. I'm not saying that the person who wrote this has low self-esteem. But that's what I hear when I see words like this. Just notice me and that's good enough. That's going to make my life whole. I'm not a big fan of that. The second verse says, going back and forth and reaching for the place I know that seems so far away, where you'll put your arms around my heart and keep me warm all through the night. I'm wanting you. It's just you. This is true. It is fixation. It is unhealthy. And it's a general feeling that nothing else can make you happy. This is it. It's a lot of weight to put on someone else. Even if it wasn't unrequited, it's still a bit of a toxic relationship right there. So is this kind of common within pop music, love tracks in general? Yeah, I don't want to put too much weight on it. I don't want to call it bad lyrics or anything like that. It's just not my cup of tea. This isn't the first time we've run across an unrequited love song before, and I've said something similar then as well. Just, not for me. I think it's well done, and it ties in nicely to the music, too. As I mentioned, the general dreariness of it all is this feeling of sorrow, not being happy. And even in these big moments of pronouncing your love and, being good enough, if you just wave at me, that's going to be fine by me. Having these big epic moments, it ultimately just leads into isolation and loneliness at the end of the track, which I think is not necessarily the message it's trying to say lyrically, but it is the message I get, that all of this energy was wasted because in the end, nothing's changed. Nothing's gained, and you're in the same place you were at the beginning. It also kind of makes sense for the harmonies to be produced in the production rather than by the other vocalists, because it's somebody singing with themselves, which is what isolation feels like. It's what isolation is. I'm coming around to the track thematically, but I doubt I'll be returning to it to listen to again, even as beautiful as the music can be at times. It's the lyrics, man. I'm not the audience on this one. These are my thoughts, though, on Xdinary Heroes Good Enough. Let me know what you think of this track. If there's anything that stood out to you, if there's anything you'd like to correct me on, if you agree or disagree with anything I stated today, let me know. Put all of that, as well as anything else you'd like to, into the comments section below. Above that, in the description box, is a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.